Hey guys, and welcome to the first ever supercut here on my channel. Today we're going to live through my entire solo wipe, from having a really rough start to claiming a really strong base location and taking it out, to hitting some nice raids and then getting banned in the end. As always, I hope you enjoy, but for now, let's start out on the beaches.
Let's go!
Like every good ARK player, I of course was an hour late to wipe, so I had to progress extra fast, especially when considering I was playing on a 3-man server as a solo. I picked up the first node and nearly forgot to claim my starter kit when I saw two guys fighting. I decided to jump in, but actually didn't hit any of my shots. Well, I guess that wasn't the greatest display of my PvP skills on this channel, but trust me, we'll get to that soon enough. So I picked up the 4x node and ran towards the next one, where I decided to quickly harass a trilobite for some oil and eventually some black pearls, when I suddenly got bouldered from behind. Here it comes. Oh, my fucking shots aren't regging. It's so stupid. As he backed off, I also decided to run away, simply because he had bowlers, which were a massive advantage in such an early game fight. Oh, fucking stupid, guys. I hit him like 3 or 4 times and it didn't reg. I quickly picked up the next node, pumped some more levels into HP, and was just on my way to run to the next node when the guy suddenly returned, on a PT. Not really like used to the INX settings. I recently played like an INX 2-man wipe with a friend of mine. Oh, holy shit. Oh, this is stupid. This is stupid as hell, yeah, I'm dead. There we have it, the first death of this wipe, with all the no-turn buffs on me. But however, I didn't really want to be stuck on island for much longer, so I decided to quickly transfer off to the map I wanted to build my genius starter on, Berguero. As soon as I spawned in, I didn't plan on wasting any time. I claimed the starter kit, and as I was just about to kill some dillos for hide, I spotted a guy on a Maywing passing by. I didn't think any of it, and went on crafting a foundation, when he suddenly launched himself at me, so I had no other option but to back for my life. Oh please, I spawned like 10 seconds ago, bro. And surprisingly, he actually left. What a nice guy. Of course I didn't get distracted by that, and went on setting up a small crafting area to start making some narcotics to tame a PT. Is there even any PTs around here? Yeah, nice. What level? 15, nice. What the fuck? Level 15 over there, level 150 over there. Nice, 31 HP is kind of good for a starter PT. I then gathered some more resources and hoped to tame a 130 PT, which was right beside my crafting, with a slingshot. But that didn't really work out. It just ended up flying away, not even close to being knocked out. So it was for sure that I needed narcotics to tame a good PT. So I quickly set up some forges to pre-craft myself a Maywing saddle and then decided to knock out a level 15 PT, just so I had something to move around. Until I realized that I couldn't even craft a saddle for that thing. Just to clarify, to craft a PT saddle in ARK, you need to be at least level 39, which I was. You need 125 fiber, which I had, 230 hide, and lastly 75 chitin or keratin. But for God's sake, I just couldn't find any. I killed a trike and a PT, but simply didn't get any, and when I returned to my fortress to craft up a Maywing saddle instead, I saw a player on an RG passing close by. So I decided it would be better to pick up the forges, craft the saddle and the narcotics on the way, and head to the Maywing spawn point on foot. On my way there, I got absolutely jumped by a random baryonyx. Why are you so fucking fast, bro? Why are you so stupidly fast? Yeah, that's crazy. order to escape the sprinting baryonyx, I had to parachute off a cliff, and when I landed in the water I spotted some juicy silica pearls right below me, which I of course had to get. However, I didn't watch my stamina, so I jumped like a rock and had to make my way back to my death beam on foot. Fucking bad. I fucking hate the game for it, but I don't have to. Nice. How many pearls did I even get? I didn't see it, because I was too focused on dying actually. Once I had reacquired my kit and the pearls, I made my way to the Mayring spawn, on which I found this 31 HP PT, which I tamed, and shortly after I actually found an antelope to finally get some keratin for the PT saddle. Now saddled and ready to fly, I headed over to the Mayring spawn in the Redwoods, which was right beside my designated starter base spot. As soon as I arrived, I quickly trapped the 32 HP Mayring, and headed over to the starter spot I had picked out for the wipe. As soon as I arrived, I started putting down the beginnings of my starter base, just as I imagined. After setting up the forges, I got them running and headed out for my first little metal run on a mountain nearby to get them filled. As I arrived back at base, I packed the metal into the forges, and after crafting some spark powder, cementing paste, and getting some crystal, there was only polymer left, which I had to get for my first turrets. So I headed to Fjordo to absolutely annihilate some baby penguin carcasses for some nice polymer. But before I could travel back to base to craft my first turrets, I went offline, since I actually had something other than Ark to do on a Saturday evening. After ending day 1 without any turrets, I didn't have any hopes of my base still standing when logging back in on day 2. Only the most surprised I was when I found it untouched the next morning. Thankfully, I could set up my first turrets right as I came back, thanks to me Jeffrey Dahmering these penguins the night before. Now that I had a whopping 4 auto turrets defending my lackluster starting base, around 20 hours into wipe, I could now finally not feel safe when going out to farm some metal.
Play that same song! Alright, same song, here we go!
After turning on the forges, a homeless Maywing wandered into my base, begging to be tamed. So I tamed him up and bred him with my other homie to save the Maywing eggs for later. Next up, I headed out to drive the local beaver population into extinction just to get some cementing paste to craft more turrets. On my way back, I quickly disintegrated a moth-like thingy for some silk, looted a red drop that had some nice juice in it, and traveled off to the island to finally get level 100 for my heavy turrets. While crafting enough cooking pots to feed the entire cluster, I scouted some caves on island and was surprised to find an empty lava cave right besides a largely built Herbie island cave, which is custom on HyperX. I then also found an empty ice cave that I didn't go deeper into because I didn't have any equip. After then acquiring level 100, I set up the heavy turrets in the base and headed off to Crystal Isles for some silica and black pearls. However, before I could do that, I got absolutely jump scared by a Thyla on my way to the drop. Right besides that Thyla, I found a locked out player besides his PT, who I killed and looted the starter kit from.
Survivors to construct special cells. I even encountered and added solid pouches at Ducky's mobile crafting stations for chemical supplies.
Now, finally all crystallized, I quickly gathered some silica and black pearls and then transferred back to my small tower. After getting some black pearls and silica pearls at the end of last episode, I quickly got to crafting a mining drill and then headed off to Lost Island to go tame some Paracers and run the Lost Island labyrinth in the desert. As soon as I arrived, I cryo-sicked my Maywing because I'm stupid, and while it was waking up I killed a sheep for some mutton. I then went ahead and tamed a female breed racer, and as I was just about to move to the labyrinth, I found this 31 HP pre-tame racer that I just had to go for. As I had just knocked it out, some of these annoying little beetle things hit it, so it only rolled to 37 HP, which really sucked. Before I headed out to find some more good racers though, I first ran the Lost Island labyrinth once. As you could see, there were sadly only 2 drops in the entire labyrinth, and they also didn't really have anything useful, so I decided to just go look for some more racers. Next up I found this insane 32 HP pre-tame racer, which I quickly tamed up, and it actually rolled really well up to a 47 HP, which was one of the top lines on the server at that time. As soon as I was back in base, I popped out the 47 HP racer and cryo-sicked my Maywing, but since I didn't want to wait, I crowded back in and grabbed another one to go download the remaining female Paracers from my download. Back at base, I popped out the female racers and bred them up to create my economical foundation for this wipe. I then crafted up some racer saddles to prevent their long ass necks from poking out of my base, and crafted some more ARB to fill up the few turrets I had. A few minutes and a poop later, I was able to claim the new racer babies, and actually got lucky with a 47 HP male on the first turn. I could use these to instantly start trading with the line, as you will see later. On the second turn, however, I got a female 2 HP racer, which I really didn't need, so I welcomed it into our world and put the freshly baked mother into a Pokeball to rot there for the rest of the wipe. Now that we had one racer to trade with, I set up one more heavy and headed off to the first trade of the wipe to get myself a pump BP for center boss and a flag legs BP for early game raids. Shoutouts to the guy, by the way, he was so chill and we actually chatted for a bit after the trade. After stashing away the BTs in base, I headed over to Aberration for some keratin. But as I entered the surface entrance, this happened. Usually, I wouldn't just run away from a fight like this, but at this point in wipe, I was running around in prim flag and didn't even have a weapon, so I was probably better off just dipping out of the fight. Since the surface entrance was blocked, and I needed some polymer anyways, I decided to go look for a Spino to kill some Khakis. Only the more happy I was when I found this 31 HP 15 melee Spino chilling around in this river. After taming it up, I ended rolling out to 39 HP and 26 melee, which was kinda shit. I went looking for a female to breed with. Now that I had a pair of semi-good Spinos, I went looking for a drop for around half an hour and then traveled back to base, where I crafted a Spino saddle, bred up the Spinos, crafted an egg incubator, saw that the egg got all the shit stats, cried, and returned to Aberration to have the time of my life. Back on Aberration, I popped out my Spino and started beating up everything that moved, like a school bully in 4th grade. After around half an hour of running through the rivers like a maniac and extinguishing the local Carcanos population, I basically had enough chitin and polymer for the rest of the wipe. As I was just about to travel off the map, a guy tried to kill me, but luckily I had already transferred. Back in base, I stashed all the chitin into the chem bench and noticed that I was lacking stone to craft more CP. So I put the poly into the fabricator and went to farm some more stone. Since I wanted to boost my production, I also set up some more crafting stations. Now that we have the CP and SP production running, I crafted some of the shotguns from the BP I had traded for earlier. The only thing now left to do to really fill up my turrets was to get some charcoal, so I headed to Crystal Isles to farm some, and you won't believe me what I found there.
I ain't got much to show, baby, I'm slow. I'm gonna creep into my eyes, stay on show until the spring liberates me from my winter hell. I've got candles and candy, I can be your daddy if you only let me creep into your prison cell. Hey baby, can you tell I'm not a criminal? Your choice is seminal. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say. Just find your way and try to stay true.
Holy shit guys, we had just cracked the jackpot. That guy had some insane flag, 2 insanely good shotguns, and even some random tag structures. This find was really gonna boost our progress towards getting tag really quickly. And so I finished the charcoal run and returned back to base to save the loot and get the production running.
This life's a show. Try not to glow. Way down below, it's a lot of woe.
I then traveled over to Lost Island to farm tributes for Center Alpha boss. Just so you know, on INX you can get tributes for bosses from green and white drops, so I basically just went to hunt some drops. Since I was looking for base spot anyways, I decided to go scout some caves while on Lost Island. As I passed by Sarko Cave, I knew I had to check it out, since it seemed empty from the outside. So I landed and quickly checked for foundation control when I claimed myself a foundation and bed kit out of the shop and entered the cave. To my surprise, the cave was completely empty. In my situation, this was another absolute jackpot. Finally, I had found a base spot to build in, and actually a really strong one as well. Just so you know, this cave is really strong because of its underwater entrance, so you can snowball dive or PT spin it, and also, if you do your turret settings correctly, it's impossible to soak with a trike from behind the player-sized entrance. The only thing left to do now was to spam the cave and claim it for myself. As I ventured further into the cave, I actually found some loot drops, but also got attacked by around 1 million spiders or scorpions. And as I reached the back of the cave, I had already built an entire base layout in my head. As you saw, we ended last episode off after I had fully spammed the cave and had cleared it from all the spiders and scorpions. The next thing to do was to put up some defenses and transfer all my loot over. So I claimed myself the day 2 starter kit and quickly set up some of the heavy turrets in the entrance. Few heavy turrets set up, and the base being at least a little bit secure, I laid down the foundation of the wall I wanted to build, spammed the entrance, and made my way back over to Valguero to get the rest of the structures needed to build the wall. Sadly, my recording crashed while I was on Valguero, so I'll just show you how I built the wall. With the wall built up partially at best, and the turrets not even being close to capped, I got ready to transfer all my loot into the cave. Since I obviously didn't want to sort my loot twice, I decided to quickly build up my crafting station in the back of my soon-to-be solo fortress. This obviously wasn't the creme de la creme of the crafting stations, but it was definitely gonna be enough for a solo like me. In the following, I picked up my small Belgrado base and moved all my stuff into the back of the cave. After that was done, I traveled over to Aberration to hit a quick metal run, so I could afford all the structures I was gonna need to further enhance the base. Back in base, I ported all my metal into the forges to get it smelted, and then decided to tame up this dodo that had been roaming around my base since I had moved in. I decided to call him Herbert the House Dodo, after the nice old man from Family Guy. I then headed over to a job to get all the dinos and BPs out of my upload. Back in base, I decided it was finally time to get all my shit sorted, so I built myself a little storage area. Don't worry though, this is gonna be the last building time-lapse of the video. As you could see, I had some problems with the snapping of the INX walls, but I still managed to build myself a small storage room. Once again, I know it's not the finest, but it's more than enough for my solo playing as. I then did some more base pitching and proceeded popping out my army of breed stegos and racers to finally get my lines going. Now that my breeders were ready to continuously produce dinos for me to waste in battle, I cleared up all the different tunnels in my cave and then headed out to go farm some drops for Center Alpha boss fight. At this point, I'd also like to apologize massively for the annoying mining glue sound that's constantly in the background. Trust me, it's not only been ruining your video, but also my cutting session. After opening an absolute fuckton of drops, I finally had all the tributes to go and to Center Alpha. On my way back though, I got absolutely pelted by turrets right in front of my own cave. I quickly got myself some grapples in order to get my kit back, but it was right in turret range. So I quickly rekitted myself to go to the boss and upgrade my base to tech in case the guys had come to raid me. After finishing the bosses, I crafted myself a tech replicator and began upgrading the base. Now that I had my cave teched out, I felt way safer than I should have and decided to go out and check what had killed me in front of my base last episode. Now that I saw that the enemy fob was really just a badly built starter kit, I knew I could wipe that thing with ease. And as I was just about to leave the cave, this happened. I instantly tried to grapple him into my turrets, but after seeing me, he just left. After a while, it seemed like the guys had just randomly decided to go offline, so I prepared myself and took the opportunity to wipe their starter. As you could see, I only used a random 34 HP unimprinted shit stego I had laying around, but since I was only able to destroy the first of 2 generators, I quickly grabbed another one and headed out to finish the job. As I arrived at the gen, most of the turrets had already been sold, but I didn't care, I just wanted these turrets away from my circle cave. After getting rid of the last defenses, I quickly blew the bats, killed the player and got to looting my old kit, but somebody didn't seem to be quite fine with that. After his Fabby had 2-shot my flag, I already knew that this guy was gonna have some much better stuff than me. So I re-kitted and headed back out in hopes of getting my kit and some of the raid's loot back into my cave. I hopped on a stego in order to not get beamed by his Fabby, and as I noticed that he wasn't there anymore, I killed the stalkers, looted my kits back, blew up more of the base, and stashed all the loot into my stego. Suddenly, he came back and netted my stego. I knew that I still had a bunch of loot on me and that he couldn't kill the stego quickly enough, so I ran into my cave and stashed all the loot. After doing that, I headed out again in order to blow up the remains of the base and get my tames back. And as I was just about to blow the remaining turrets, the guy just spawned behind me.
Hello, motherfucker.
After this jump scare, I quickly grabbed more stegos and went ahead looting when he came back once again. By the way guys, this is me from the editing right now. And how the fuck did he miss this net, bro? I wasn't even moving. When he then hit me with his net, I realized that I couldn't net him and remembered that I actually had a good Fabby laying around somewhere in my basement. So I quickly went and grabbed the Fabby, but as I came out, the guy had already left, so I sadly didn't get to shit on him. He must have been scared as fuck though, or I just proceeded blowing the fob. Holy, I always love such big explosions in ARK. What about you? What do you think is the most satisfying thing in the entirety of ARK? Feel free to write it in the comments, but don't tune off yet because there's so much more to come. Trust me guys, it's only going to become better from here on. Next up, I hit a quick charcoal run and then went on a huge taming spree to prepare for some raids. I ended up getting multiple Daedons and Maywings as well as a UT, and as I was just about to get myself some Mantis, this happened. As you can imagine, I was fucking fuming. I had been taming for the last 2 hours or so and had now lost everything. To compensate that, I actually decided to go scout some raids and actually found an insane red hole base on Fjordor, which you're gonna see later. So I started preparing for the raid and did some more breeding and actually ended up building an entirely new floor in my breeding room. I then ended up doing another trade for a 62 melee Mantis, which was insane for base defense, prepared some dinos and got the fob ready to transfer over to Valguero to go kick some ass. As I spawned in on Valguero, I could actually use our old starter base's bats since the red hole was right next to it. I quickly set up a basic gen box next to the red hole, and here it is guys, take a look at that shit. An entrance so small you can only fit in, not out, even as a player, and an entire tag wall inside of it. This was one of the craziest red holes I had ever seen. I already knew that I was gonna have to find an angle to tag rifle or cluster nade from, but with the ORP, one hitting my flag every time, this was way harder than I thought. But then I found it, the jackpot. Some parts of the wall were poking out the side of the red hole, so I could easily take down some turrets to get a tag rifle angle. After I had dropped this, the wall already looked way more raidable, since an entire row of about 6 heavy turrets had now vanished. I now went ahead looking for a new cluster nade angle and actually found out that I could already stand halfway inside of the entrance without getting shot, which made it way easier for me to find an angle. This enabled me to slowly rifle down row for row of the wall in a tedious hour-long process which I won't show you guys simply because it's too boring. However, after a few hours of rifling, I decided to try dropping some tames in, but they got absolutely smacked by the ORP, which showed me that I was gonna have to sit there and rifle for even longer. After some more hours of rifling, I actually found an angle to soak from, but the ORP damage was just too crazy for it to be worth it all. After some more time, I had made a bunch more progress and actually found an angle to ghost soak a tech turret. At this point, I was also already preparing to throw racers into the red hole to line of sight some turrets. Here's another look at the turret wall around 4 hours into the raid. At this point I had thought that I might have found the perfect grenade angle, but in the end I just blew my own butt off the castle. By now, around 5 hours into the raid, you can actually see that I'm near the left end of the wall. This means that I'll soon be able to throw tames into the red hole and finish the raid, which I really wanted to do at this point, since it was 4 AM on a Monday morning and I would have school in 4 hours. Because I was slowly losing patience and also my sanity, I decided to throw in a test per racer, and it still got absolutely deleted by the few turrets that were left. After some time I actually found a grenade angle that damaged the top row of the remaining turrets, so I spammed the nades in like an absolute maniac, and sometimes a random grenade would even get through and blow up the entire back. After destroying 1 or 2 more turrets, I decided it was time for the good old giraffes again, and I tried getting them into the red hole. And to my surprise, they didn't get shot once they landed on the floor. I then let it soak one of the tech turrets, and as soon as it died I knew this was my time, since it blocked a bunch of turrets with its dead body. So I got myself some racers and tech grenades and decided to throw them into the red hole as well. The racer actually soaked a good amount, but sadly the tech nades still didn't get me far. When the racer died, however, it once again blocked a load of turrets, which made it easier for me to progress. Following that, I actually got another very good grenade angle with which I dropped some of the most annoying turrets. Now that the last turrets were slowly fading away, just like my mental health during this raid, I would soon be able to finish the entire thing off. I was now finally at the last turret and only had to tech rifle this one last foundation to destroy the heavy turret. I could now finally enter the red hole, and as I was just about to destroy the back wall and all the turrets with it, this happened. This was probably the most painful death of the entire wipe. I was inside the enemy base with all my raid equipment and just a slither away from finally finishing the raid. But I don't give up, guys. That's nothing you can afford to do as a solo in ARK. So I re-geared on Lost Island and went in for one final strike. First, I threw a stego in for safety. Then I jumped into the spot. Next up, I picked up my old kit and dropped myself down into the shark tank. I didn't know from where I could get shot, so I hopped onto my stego to get a first overview. And there was only one turret left in the last corner of the base, and I went to get it. I used a dead stego's body, and after some throws, I finally broke the turret. Ladies and gentlemen, we were in. I went ahead and stole one of the enemy's R-throws to destroy their base and claim it for myself. The loot was absolutely juicy. They had a shitload of VPs and lines. But while I was looting, the base owner came online and said I was gonna get banned. It was around 5:30 AM and I just wanted to go to sleep, and when I went to play ARK the next day, I was actually banned. For meshing. Thank you guys very much for watching the first ever full wipe on this channel. As always, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like or a comment and maybe even subscribe to support the channel, and you should really get ready for some more content coming your way. But until then, stay happy.